Hey, small group attenders. My name is Steve Gladen. I'm the pastor of connections here at Saddleback Church, and I get to work with the small groups across all of our campuses. And you're probably listening to this because your small group host, i.e., your small group leader, asked you to listen to this so you could understand our pathway of development for you. Now, you may not know this, but we have a plan that can help you become all that God has created you to be. This plan is pretty simple. It just consists of 4 different phases that I want to walk you through so that you can understand how you can be all that God has created you to be. Now, these phases are pretty simple. One of them is a gather phase, just where you're gathering together in community with some of your friends. That's how you started your small group. Then we want to move you to a grow phase so that you can start to learn how to balance the 5 biblical purposes that, Jesus prayed in John 17, that Jesus, made clear in his vision and mission in the Great Commission and the Great Commandment, and that was modeled to us in Acts chapter 2. Now, this part of this phase is going to help you grow in each of those 5 biblical purposes of fellowship, discipleship, serving, evangelism, and worship. Now, the next phase that we're going to talk about is the give phase, and this is where you can give back in one of the biblical purposes that God has gifted you in. Believe it or not, you have a strength that you can contribute to your small group and to your campus, but at the same time too, you have areas where you can grow in, and that's where the community of your small group can help you develop in different areas. And then we kind of wrap it up in the go phase, and this is where you go and you help your campus because your giftedness is something that your campus needs. That's why God brought you to this campus, because you have something that your campus needs in order to reach the community around it. Now, let me go all the way back into the gather phase and start to walk you through some of the tools, some of the resources, and some curriculum that your small group can do to help you develop in each one of these phases. Now, in the gather phase, when you're just gathering together with a couple of your friends, what we want you to do is get acquainted with, how Saddleback has designed Saddleback Church to kind of bless you. And so one of the things we want you to do is listen to our developmental strategy. We have a class overview that will kind of help you understand. When we talk about class, it is not a class you attend, but it's the class system that Saddleback Church has with 101, 201, 301, 401. I want you to hear that overview because that's going to be super important for you to kind of understand this is the foundation, this is the DNA of Saddleback Church, and we want you to understand that. So take a listen to that. One of the resources we have for you, it's an abridged version of a book that I wrote called Leading Small Groups with Purpose. It's pretty important that you understand, why is your small group there? Why did God design the church, temple courts, and house to house? And is the gathering you have of a couple friends just a small group? Or is it a strategic part of your development and our church's development? And then we hope that your small group will do the curriculum. What on earth am I here for? Because it is a foundational curriculum that Pastor Rick Warren, our founding pastor, created to be able to help you understand the 5 biblical purposes. Now, once you've kind of completed at least those 3 things, then we want you to move into the grow phase. Now, in the grow phase is where we're trying to help you balance the purposes. Now, one of the best things your small group can do is do our curriculum called Base Camp. Base Camp is where you're going to start to learn how to climb the mountain, get to the summit of what God wants in your life. But that small group curriculum will help your small group start to understand those 5 biblical purposes and how you can start to engage one of our primary tools, which is the individual health assessment. Now, when you're doing the individual health assessment, you're going to be able to find that on the profile of saddleback.com. And in your profile is an ability for you to take that individual health assessment. Now, when you are doing this tool, you're going to discover what the 5 purposes are, how you can figure out by doing a quick assessment on where you're strong and maybe where you need to grow. This is a tool that Lisa and I have been doing in our family for over 20 years now. It's hard to even have those numbers come off my lips, but it's an exciting tool that can help you. The thing I want to encourage you is that I've discovered, even though I have been a pastor for over 40 years, there's areas I need to grow in and there's areas I need to contribute in. And this individual health assessment will help you with that. Then one of the resources we have for you is a great one called Don't Lead Alone. You see, because when you take the health assessment, you're going to discover where you're strong in one of the 5 biblical purposes that Jesus talked to us about in the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. And in this resource of Don't Lead Alone, you're going to learn through listening to this resource a valuable way that you can contribute to your small group. Now, as we round out the grow phase, I want to talk to you about the give phase. The give phase is where you start to develop your purpose of how God has gifted you and created you to bless not only your small group, but also to bless your church, your campus that you're at. Now, one of the things that we have for you is a tool that's a partner with the individual health assessment, and it is the group health assessment. We want your group to be balanced and healthy. Just like you as an individual need to balance the purposes, the biblical purposes in your heart, your small group needs to do that in its small group. And your group assessment will help your small group start to understand where the group naturally gravitates towards. Is it fellowship? You just love to hang together? Is it discipleship? There's more about learning as a small group. Is it serving your campus and serving, where you're gifted in on your campus? Is it more of about evangelism, or is it more about, worship, that vertical connection to God? Your group assessment will help you understand where your small group is leaning towards and where it needs to develop. Now, one of the things you're going to discover is that your group will have a champion in it. And there's different champions for each one of the 5 biblical purposes. The grow phase that you just came out of is going to give you an indication of where you should champion one of the purposes in your small group. Now, once you know that, you're going to have to understand what are some things you can actually do. What can you do in fellowship? What can you do in discipleship? What can you do in serving? What can you do in evangelism? What can you do in worship? And we have a great resource for you called 250 Big Ideas. Guess what? Your small group host will be able to give you each 50 ideas on whichever purpose you naturally gravitate towards. Now, one of the great compliments that your small group can do as a curriculum to understand these 2 tools is the Summit curriculum. Just like you did What on Earth Am I Here For curriculum, just as you did the Base Camp curriculum, one of the curriculums that we have for you is the Summit curriculum. And this will help your whole small group understand how you can help your host balance the 5 biblical purposes that Jesus gave us. Now, as we wrap up the give phase, then it goes into the go phase. Now, in the go phase, we're trying to say, how do you go and serve your campus the best way possible? Now, one of the things that your small group can do is a curriculum that we have called the purpose of ministry. And the complementary word with that is the purpose of serving. And this is in our PDL, our purpose-driven life series of curriculum that we have on the watch page. But what we want you to do is kind of focus in on that curriculum, because it'll help you understand how you can serve, how you can go, and every individual in your small group can help your campus in a very specific way. Now, to a resource and a tool that we have that can help you even develop that sharper than just the 5 biblical purposes and hone it in deeper in whichever purpose that you're gifted in is Class 301. Now, you've probably heard me talk about that when you listen to the class overview, and you know how important it is that you understand what it means to belong to our family, and you understand, what are the habits I need to put into my life so that I can be the believer and I can sustain the tossing and the turning of everyday life. But when you get to third base, or when you get to Class 301, that's where you discover your shape. And as you know, that the shape stands for spiritual gifts. What's your heart? What are your abilities? What's your personality? And what are your life experiences that all roll together to help you understand your shape? Well, Class 301 will help you kind of filter those out and understand how you can take those deeper. But then the tool that we have for you is our shape interview process. This is where you'll meet one-on-one with a person at your campus to help you understand how you can take how you want to serve, what your shape is all about, and then how you can actually do something at your campus. You see, as a small group attender, we know that the purposes grow deeper through community. But we also know that you were made for a specific purpose to contribute to your campus. So we just want to encourage you as a small group attender, as I've kind of rolled this out, go back to your small group host and say, okay, how can I learn and grow through this process? Because this process will help you become who God has designed you to be. Thanks for being a part of a small group, and I'm super excited for the journey that God has you on and where you're at and where you can develop and take the next step. God bless you.